The old we're just walking now that we're signing 700.
Everybody got the Christmas shopping done?
Bunny.
Did we start yet?
Yes.
I'm a last minute person. So we have a couple more minutes. And actually, I think what we're going to do tonight is maybe turn it into more of a question and answer kind of thing. We have a smaller group like this. We like to do question and answer because if we're talking to 20, 25 people in the room, you really can't allow questions because we'll be able to get through the information that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to do like a hybrid kind of thing. We'll hit all the topics, but I want you guys to ask questions, why'd you come here, things like that. What concerns do you have? Is it taxes on qualified plans? Somebody asked me. Are we going to talk about Social Security and when to turn that stuff on? We're going to hit that. So we'll make this more of instead of a presentation where you're going to hear just three people talking, more of an interaction kind of thing. So then we'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you were just watching before was one of our TV shows that we do that's broadcast on New Jersey 12 Network. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the show. It's broadcast on Verizon and Optimum cable. I don't think DirecTV or any other places have it, but Verizon and Optimum have it. And we do that show weekly. It's a half-hour show talking about topics that affect people who are planning for retirement, who are in retirement, or just getting to retirement. Okay? On Sunday afternoons, and I'm going to hit some of this as well, Sunday afternoons I also do a radio show, also called the Papa Report. It's on channel 710 WOR. 2 o'clock every Sunday. It's an hour show. I have a host of the show, Morgan, and we just talk about topics, things going on. And there's always opportunities to call in to our call-in center to make an appointment to have a conversation to continue answering specific questions that you might have. So 2 p.m. on Sundays. Yeah, in fact, I think I have a slide about it too. So well, with that, we're going to try and make this more of an interactive kind of thing. Okay, but we'll hit everything. Why did you accept the invitation? Why did you come here tonight? I'm sure, except for maybe the young girl in the back, this is probably not your first event you got invited to. This demographic is a prime target for people to go to the dinner seminars, go to this restaurant, and we'll talk about Social Security planning or investing and things like that. We used to do that, but I felt like there was more people there who were interested in the steak they were getting than the information we were providing, so we stopped doing that. And I'd rather talk to less people who are really interested in what their financial situation is, and I feel like we can help, and I relate more to those kind of people, so we stopped doing the dinner thing. So that's one of the reasons why, we have smaller groups and we like that, okay? I'll get out of that. We kind of know why we're here. I'm an independent licensed fiduciary. All of us are independent licensed fiduciaries. And if you missed in the beginning, my name is John Papa. I'm the president of DPS Advisors. I started this practice 38 years ago with my father, Mike Papa. We started it back then, Diversified Planning Strategies. We cater our practice mostly to people who are 50 years old and above. With me is my son Luke, who's 24 years old, and he's the younger generation and the third generation of DPS Advisors, which is pretty cool. My dad passed away a few years ago, so he didn't know that Luke was joining our practice, so I'm sure he'd be really excited knowing that there's a third generation going to take this practice to the next 50 years. Also with me is Ted Fiore, my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, who's been in the financial services field for over 30 years, and he joined our practice about 6 months ago, and together we educate and empower people so they can make better decisions with their hard-earned money. My dad and I created that motto 38 years ago, and it's in our conference room. We talk about it all the time on the shows, and we talk about it here. We're not going to sell you anything tonight. Tonight we're just going to educate. That's why we use libraries. We do these events, we call them the Retirement Masterclass, and we use libraries because it's all about education. Right? We use the Millburn Library here, the Parsippany Library. Montclair State University has a great place called Yogi Berra's Museum. They have a great the room was like a baseball stadium, so we do them there as well. Roseland Library, we do a bunch of libraries all around, and just we try to educate people. And when you educate people, then you can make a really good decision. We don't shove anything down anybody's throat, so I talked about being a stress-free retirement, stress-free environment, so there's no sales going on. We're licensed fiduciaries. I've appeared on CNBC, Fox Business, MSNBC as a retirement planning expert and a guest on their shows, talking about different things from investing in retirement, how to build a retirement portfolio, how to distribute a retirement portfolio when you do start taking money out of it. I've written articles for Benzinga and MarketWatch. Our shows also every other Saturday night. We're broadcast on WPIX, Channel 11, CW11. So we're pretty excited about that, pretty proud of that. And then every Sunday, I don't know if you're aware of this, Fox Business has a show called The Wealth Council. It's on Fox Business at 2 o'clock. They bring advisors in from across the country and just hit topic after topic about building retirement plans and that kind of stuff. I was asked to be on a bunch of those different segments of those shows, so it's really cool to say, hey, I'm on Fox Business. It's a cool thing to be able to tell people. So, I don't know if you heard it before, I also wrote a book, Avoiding the Retirement Traps, the 7 financial mistakes that retirees make with their money. And I'm currently working on a book called The Intelligent Investor to try and also educate younger people on what they should be doing to save for retirement, okay? So I have a pretty extensive background in this field. It's not my first day, it's not my first week, so we're pretty proud about that. 38 years, licensed fiduciary. What does that actually mean? What's a fiduciary? Has anybody ever heard of that term? Okay, if you're going to work with a fiduciary, an advisor, he or she should be a licensed fiduciary, which means we have a higher standard of care level that just regular brokers do. And we're regulated by the SEC and FINRA. And our standard of care is it has to be in the client's best interest. So any decision that we go over or advise you to make or help you make, it's going to be in your best interest at all times. And I'll give an example throughout the presentation about what we do in certain situations, okay? All 3 of us right now are licensed fiduciaries. There's only 2 types of advisors who can say they're licensed fiduciaries: a certified financial planner or a registered investment advisor. We're registered investment advisors. If your advisor, you ask that question, are you a fiduciary, and they say yes, then just say which kind. If they don't have an answer of CFP or RIA, they're not licensed fiduciaries. They're just saying that, okay? I just talked about when the pop-up report shows, so we know that. We're going to hit some topics. Any questions? So the first topic is going to be Social Security. Any questions about that? Ted's going to hit some facts about it. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I want you guys to interact, ask questions. You guys haven't said anything yet. You haven't asked. So ask questions about, why'd you come? What prompted you? What's going on? Why are we here? Okay, and we'll talk about it.
Thank you, John. All right, as John said, I've been in the industry for over 30 years, but as the new guy to the firm, I drew the short straw, so I was asked to talk about Social Security, which in and of itself is not a bad thing, but if you come to the realization there are over 2,700 rules when it comes to the Social Security Act, and the Social Security Administration in 2018 did their own study, and they determined that there are over 9,000 different ways for a married couple to file for Social Security. So John asked me to do that in 10 or 15 minutes. I'm on the clock right now, so wish me luck.
On the clock.
And tonight is even shorter. Tonight's
yeah.
even shorter, so that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Really, with all of that said, there are 2 questions that most people have when it comes to talking about Social Security. The first question is, will it be there when I need it? And the second question is, what age should I take it or claim, right? So the first question, will it be there when I need it? The answer is yes, but. The second question is, when should I take it? The answer is, it depends. So there's not a lot of concrete response in what we just said there. But Social Security was created 90 years ago, 1935, by FDR. At the time, they just literally determined the age, the full retirement age, as 65 years old. They just said 60 is too young, 70 is too old. But the interesting thing, at that time, the average life expectancy was only 59 years old. So full retirement age is 65, average life expectancy is 59. They weren't expecting a lot of people to take Social Security. So for a very long period of time, people were pouring money into the trust fund, right? Here we are 90 years later, the full retirement age is only gone from 65 to either 66 or 67, depending on when you were born. But now the average life expectancy has gone from 59 to 77 and a half years old. So what's happened now, last year, over 70 million people collected Social Security, right? So between the baby boomers, Generation X, and Generation Y, which are known as the millennials, right? You've got a lot of people in the next 10 to 15 years who are retiring, going to be taking money out of the system. The trust fund that has been built up over the last 90 years is now being depleted. But even if it goes to zero, which they're projecting in 2035 or so, people will still be contributing to the system, right? So it's a pay-as-you-go system. So for the last 30 years, John and I have been contributing, and many of you have been contributing, right? They don't put that money in the trust funds and wait for Ted Fiore to retire to collect Social Security and give me my money back. I'm paying in, and the people who are collecting are taking that money out, right? So that's how the system works. So there will always be people putting money into the system, even though the trust fund itself may be depleted. Now, Congress can actually act, right? If you look at your paycheck, right, you'll see either Social Security tax or FICA. People often ask, like, who's this FICA guy that I'm giving 6.25% of my paycheck to? Right? And that stands for the Federal Insurance Contribution Act, right? That's the money that goes into the Social Security Trust Fund, okay? So now you've got all of these people retiring, you've got all of the people taking Social Security out, all right? Congress can either increase the tax amount from 6.25, but we don't think they're really going to do that because that would be really bad politically for them to do something like that. Or they can increase what's the maximum taxable wage. So the maximum taxable wage, you'll see up here, I know it's tough to see, for 2022 was $147,000, okay? And what that means is, if in 2022 you made $500,000 or $1 million, for the purposes of Social Security, that FICA, you're only taxed up to $147,000, right? So it's not all of the income above that is also being taxed. They can increase that, and they have increased it. So this year for 2024, Social Security wage tax, the maximum is $168,600. For next year, the maximum taxable wage is going to be about $176,000 and change. So they do increase that, which helps to keep the fund, but there's other things that they can do. We expect them to act, but if they don't act, at least be confident that you'll receive 79 to 80% of what you should have received in 2035 and beyond if Congress does nothing, okay? The second part of the question that we talked about is, when is the best time to retire? To collect Social Security. And the answer, I hope everyone here knows that you can begin to claim or collect Social Security at age 62. If you do so, you'll get about 75% of what you would have gotten on a monthly basis had you waited to your full retirement age, which will be either 66 or 67, depending on when you were born. The maximum age is age 70. If you wait till you're 70 years old to begin to collect Social Security, you will get about 132% of what you would have gotten if you had done it at full retirement age, right? So then there are other things. You see COLA, right? Purposes of this presentation tonight Cola is not a cold and tasty beverage. It's the cost of living adjustment. So each year, depending on what's happening in the economy, depending on the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, since 1975, the average cost of living adjustment on an annual basis has been about 3.69%. So whatever you're getting monthly on Social Security, each year there's a cost of living adjustment to help you meet the expenses that are going up. From 2000 to 2020, it was about an average of about 2.1%, 1.5%, because interest rates were low, there wasn't a whole lot of inflation, things kind of remained flat. Over the last couple of years, though, 2022, as interest rates went up, the expenses, cost of living went up, it went as high as 5.9%. Last year in 2023, the cost of living adjustment was 8.7%. All right, because that was a really expensive year for everyone. Gas was where it was. 2024, it came back down. It's about 3.7%. Next year, they've already determined that it's going to be 2.5% for the cost of living adjustment. And then you'll see here, you have minimum FRA benefits and maximum benefits. So it's based on what you've made over the last 35 years. And you know, it's not everybody who's reaching the maximum benefit. If you're not making that maximum Social Security wage tax, then you're not getting the most. But as far as 2025, the maximum benefit is actually going up from $4,100. It's going to be about $5,100 next month. So what we want, we have a presentation. We put together a slide, and again, I'm going to try to keep this quick, is we gave you a mathematical example. Two clients, Ron and Nancy, we changed the names to protect the innocent. But, so this is kind of what we consider to be a normal scenario, right? The husband is generally a few years older than the wife. In the past, husbands generally made more money than the wife, but that is certainly changing, right? I think we all know in this room that women tend to live longer than men. We won't go into the reasons for that tonight, but we all know, right? Women live longer than men. I see you smiling over there. All right, so this scenario, Ron is 60 and Nancy is 58. The life expectancy for Ron is 85 and for Nancy it's 90, right? So the good news here, everybody that's in this room, the fact that you're here tonight, you probably are going to exceed what the normal life expectancy was for the year you were born. I was born in 66. John's much older than I am. John is 60 years old, and he'll always be older than me.
2 years.
I'm only 58, right? So when I was born in 66, the average life expectancy was about 73 years old. The fact that I'm still here today, my life expectancy is 84 years old. Right? My parents are both 84, still alive. My grandfather lived to 95. So I have to plan for a longer than average life expectancy. And when you're doing that in retirement, you want to make sure that you are maintaining the standard of living that you have, right? You don't want to outlive the funds that you have, okay? So Ron's 60, Nancy's 58. In all three scenarios, Ron lives to 85 and Nancy lives to 90. Okay, so pure mathematics here is if Ron and Nancy both took their Social Security at the age of 62 collectively until 85 and 90, they would have cumulative benefits of $1.65 million. Okay? If actually they took them at their full retirement age at 67, you'll see the cumulative benefit is about $1,944. So it's about $280,000 more over the same period of time that they would have gotten had they waited to their full retirement age. If they had waited till they were 70, where if you remember earlier we showed you'd get about 130%, the cumulative value of the benefits would be $2.1 million, or about $400,000 more than that close to $180,000 more than full retirement age. So obviously at an early age, right, you're taking the money for a much longer period of time, but it's so much smaller on a monthly basis that when you reach about 78 or 79, that's the threshold that you can expect on a monthly basis you will surpass what you would have gotten had you taken it at 62 years old. So, right, you have to think about your own family. Are you married? Do you have parents that you're still caring for financially? Do you have adult children? Are you divorced? Are you divorced within 10 years? Do you have young children that you're taking care of? Everyone, although we might look the same, everyone's situation is unique. It is not a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to Social Security. It's one fits one, right? So everybody, there are so many derivatives and variables that you have to think about. This is just showing you if you can wait over the long term and you have a longer life expectancy, that it may be better for you to wait until you're 70 if you can financially afford it. So I'm going to stop there. I know we're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about volatility a little bit as well. But any questions that you have, feel free to ask at any time. Yes, sir.
You go first, please.
Can you recoup, like if you leave, or you start accepting the money at your right age?
Right.
Could you recoup with the 70, when you get to 70?
So no, generally when you take it, you can change one time within 12 months and you have to pay back the money that you took if you want to then decide to wait till a later date, if that's what you're asking. But you can't make up for the money. If you took it early, there's no way for you, if you don't make that adjustment within the first 12 months, where you can then make that money back. And keep in mind, please, that Social Security was only meant to be about 40% of what you're earning now. So it wasn't meant to replace everything that you're earning now. Kind of scary part is you talk about single women or widowed women, it's up to 40% of them are relying 100% on Social Security, and 30% of married couples are relying 100% on Social Security. So this is one part of your retirement plan. It should not be the whole thing. And that's a reason to really talk to a fiduciary to make sure that you're doing other things to take advantage of what you can as you're preparing for and then distributing your assets. Answer your question? Okay.
If you took the money at the younger age and got the lower amount, and then you were structured well to take that money and invest it,
Right.
And possibly invest it in something that would be considered safe, not volatile. And then you do your calculations that when you took the money out, you took it out in tax-free municipals.
Right.
Would you, on the long run, be equivalent to that higher number?
So it's a great question. So there's something to keep, again, I didn't want to hijack Social Security, the whole thing, but one thing to keep in mind, between your full retirement age of 67 and the age of 70, on top of the COLA adjustment, there's actually an 8% bump each of those 3 years. So they're actually rewarding you, the government is rewarding you for waiting till you're 70. So that's why, if you recall earlier, we showed you that, you get 75% if you take it at 62, you get 100% if you take it at your full retirement age, you get 132% if you take it 3 years later. So a few things to consider on that question. Number one, you have to be very structured. If you take that money intending to invest it, you have to make sure you invest it. A lot of people take the money planning to invest it and then buy a boat, go golfing, go traveling, do something else with it. Another thing to think about is when you're getting closer, if you're in retirement, and I don't want to steal Luke's thunder on volatility, you've got guaranteed cost of living adjustment and you've got 8% a year here, that's guaranteed. As you're in retirement, You don't want to be too risky on your other investments. So it's going to be tough for you potentially to out-earn what you're going to get in those annual bumps in Social Security. It's a great question. Again, it's a one-size-fits-one. Something to talk to your financial advisor about, your accountant. Certainly a great conversation to have, but it's an excellent question. Does that answer your question?
Yes, the only other thing you didn't discuss is that when you take this money out, you're gonna get taxed on it heavy.
When you take Social Security,
When you get your Social Security's taxed on it.
that's correct.
Could be taxed at either 50% or 85%, depending on how much money you're reporting.
Right.
So I guess you have to run the calculations on
That's
a
right.
basis
Yep.
to see how it washes out.
And again, just make sure that you're taking the money you're taking out, you're actually investing. Right?
Because here's the thing, once you take it out of Social Security, the only way to get it out is to turn it on, right? So once you turn it on, it becomes taxable income to you.
That's right.
So you're gonna invest the net number into a municipal bond, I think that's what you said?
That's one of the things that.
Okay, so let me answer your question about that. Because we talk about risk, right? I want to put it in something that's going to be safe, right? How many municipalities do you know in our state, we're New Jersey, but in most states, are running at a profit?
Okay, you can get around that by buying insurance on the bond, can't you?
So that's a cost though. There's a cost to that. So you add that cost into the equation. So that's the point we're trying to make, is run an analysis. There's a lot of factors you need to factor in
There's a lot of things that have to be put in.
that have to be put into that equation. And I can tell you, all the calculations I've done for clients in 38 years, it's never worked. Would never
You
be.
tell me it's better to wait until
Yes.
maybe it is?
If you can afford it,
If you can
and your situation allows you to,
You should wait.
it's better to wait.
Thank you.
In most cases. Now, what are the things you need to factor in besides that, besides what, the obvious stuff? Can you afford to wait, right? And why can't you in today's day? Because in 1978, the older generation before 1978, they got a pension. When you retired, you worked for a company, you didn't just get the gold watch when you left, you got a pension, a payment for life. In 1978, they created, the companies lobbied Congress to change the rules because they didn't want to pay the cost anymore. All the cost was on the company to provide retirement benefits to workers. Well, they got tired of doing that. So they lobbied Congress and they created the 401k and put all of the emphasis of retirement on us, the employees, the people who work there. Reduced the cost for the company, and now we have to worry about our retirement. We have to become a financial advisor, we have to become a tax person, we have to become an investment person, and still do our job. So now when you retire and you don't have that pension, you need to figure out, where's my income gonna come from? And Social Security was never meant to be, like Ted said, a large part of your retirement plan income. It was only supposed to be an assistance program, right? So now it's a huge decision about when we turn it on and turn it off. There used to be a lot of other factors. You used to be able to file and suspend. The wife can take half of the husband's while they were still working and let hers still grow. In 2015, Bipartisan Budget Act, that got eliminated. So now it's only, when do I turn on and for myself, and that's it, okay? You also need to factor in your health. If you don't plan, or your health, you don't think you're gonna live the life expectancy, then maybe you do turn it on early because you're not gonna get the benefit of living to age 90 and 85. So I talk to clients all the time about, talk to your doctor. Your doctor knows you better, you and your doctor know best. Hey doc, quick question. You know my health situation. We're not talking about accidents or developing cancer 5 years from now, but right now, based on my health, do you think I'm gonna live to life expectancy? What are my odds? And if they tell you there's a really good chance, well then you can decide whether you wanna wait till 67 or 70. And you also have to be able to afford it, okay? Delaying it. So there's a lot of factors, like Ted said, it's not a one-size-fits-all, it's a one-size-fits-one, and that's part of what we offer when we sit down with you in our Diversified Planning Strategies report. Is going to be an analysis when should you turn on Social Security? Any other questions that you have about this? Yes, sir.
Ron, at age 67, takes Social Security.
Right.
What did you mention the tax on that money?
So his benefit is $3,000 a month if he waits till 67,
Right.
and Nancy is going to be $2,200 a month.
Right.
You pay taxes on Social Security based on the amount of income you're declaring, and you're either going to pay it at a 50% level or at an 85% level. That means, so for easy math, if $3,000 a month is $36,000 a year, you will have to declare 85% of that on your income tax or 50% on your income tax if you hit certain thresholds. And just collecting the Social Security is putting you in the 85%. So you're going to be taxed on 85% of that benefit. When FDR created it in 1935, they weren't taxed. Ronald Reagan came in the 80s and created the 50% tax. So you can't, Republicans started taxing Social Security. But Bill Clinton came in when he was president, added the 85% tax. So both parties can't say that it's blaming on the other one. They both are involved with taxing Social Security. It was never created to be taxed from the beginning. But now it is to increase revenue to the government.
Okay, and the government can take tax out before you take any monies, can't they?
You can take it, you can do that if you want to, yes.
Is that a better way to do it?
It depends on your situation. It depends on what your accountant says. Some people don't take it out of their Social Security benefit. They take it out of their other income that they're taking income from. So it depends on where you're taking, where else you're taking income from. If this is your only source of income, then yeah, you should take it out on it. Because the IRS doesn't like when you pay it all at once at the end. So that could be an issue. But that's what you should talk to your accountant about. When, if you should withhold. Most cases you should.
You should.
You should.
That's what my accountant said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yes,
So
ma'am.
it's not viewed in, if you're not retiring and getting a salary, you're in a certain tax bracket.
Right.
So Social Security does not work that way, is what you're saying.
Like what way? I don't understand
So-
your question.
Generally, an individual may be in a 25% and 30% tax bracket.
Right.
And so your income is taxed at that level.
Right.
If you're no longer earning any income, and
Right.
you're doing Social Security, whether it's, pension or whatever else you have with the company, that aside, specific to Social Security, is that tax, I'm understanding from what you're saying that is not taxed at that tax bracket.
That's not at your income tax rate, okay? What's gonna happen is, based on that scenario, 85% of your benefit is gonna be added to your taxable income, not 100%. The highest level is 85%.
They're giving you that juicy 15%.
Right. To live off.
But it doesn't say you're getting taxed at 85%, it's just saying
They're counting 85% of the
is
benefit.
taxed at that rate, right?
Right, so 85% of it, in this case, would be $3,000, easy math, it's 36 grand a year in the Social Security benefit. 85% of that number would be taxable income to him.
Yeah,
Right,
not at 85%.
Exactly.
Not at 85%, 85% level.
right.
That's in New Jersey.
That's a federal law, that's federal.
What's the difference between 50% level and 85% level?
The income levels are so low, sir. I mean, I think it's like, if a married couple, $35,000 a year or more, you're at 85% level. If you're lower than that, it could be 38,000, somewhere around in the upper 30s.
Yeah.
Which, the benefit itself puts you in the 85% level. It's very hard to pay less than 85.
I guess it blew past me because I was out there probably working and too busy to even think about it at the time that it happened during the Reagan administration. And the
Right.
administration. How in the world did the senior citizen AARP and
Oh, no, they lobbied for it.
how did they allow this?
They lobbied against it, but it doesn't make up enough of the population to make a difference to not have it passed. They lobbied a lot for it.
So now for people with pension and also Social Security, the money that they have coming in with pension is taxed for income. And the money that they have coming in from Social Security,
Be taxed as income too. 85% of it would be taxed as income.
At whatever your income tax rate is, depending on what your income is. But to your question, John loves to, I don't know if you have the debt clock, you want to talk about the
Yeah.
the debt clock?
We're going to get to taxes in a second.
One separate question on that.
Sure.
Instead of having the Social Security money come directly to me, the individual, can I have that money come into a trust and avoid
Doesn't matter.
the income possible?
The social security card is tax.
Government wants its money.
They're getting paid, no
Yeah.
matter what. Your pension income, social security
The trust would
income,
have to pay the taxes,
you're going to pay the income taxes first before it goes into the trust.
so before it goes into.
Yeah, it's not going to matter. You can't get away from it. You can't get away. There's no, it's impossible.
You smart guys.
You go to jail for that.
You smart guys haven't
Yeah,
figured out.
that you can't figure it out. They don't let you figure it out.
Fiduciaries haven't figured it out.
There's a law called, that's tax
Fiduciaries
evasion.
haven't figured it out. The higher ends haven't figured it
It's
out.
called tax evasion.
Yeah, no, not so much doing anything illegal, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying that.
Well, that's the only way you would be able to do it.
Death and taxes.
Some type of
Can't get
advanced
around
tax
it.
strategy to minimize the amount of taxes.
No, nope. The next topic we're going to talk about is taxes on your qualified plans, right? Which your 401k, IRA, and for the younger people in the room, we're going to tell you, you should be starting out and deal with Roth IRAs from the get-go, rather than being in the 401k, IRA situation, because when you see where we're going to go next, it makes it even worse.
Great.
Even if you have like a 403B attached to your job.
403B, right, so unfortunately for most of the older people in the room, the Roth option wasn't around for us when we started, right? So we all started doing the 401k, 403B, IRA, that's all that was around. We were told they're gonna be in a lower tax bracket when you retire, save your money, put it in this thing, and you're gonna pay taxes later. You're not saving taxes, you're just pushing it to a later date. It's called a tax-deferred plan, right? It's not a tax-free plan, it's a tax-deferred plan. So the first question I'm going to ask you tonight is, we're actually crossed over 35, so we're in the $36 trillion in debt right now. There's a website you can go to called usdebtclock.org. I don't know if anyone has ever gone to that website. It's a scrolling bunch of numbers that move so fast that it tells you the debt. Every person in the United States, whether you're a day old or 110, owes the government right now, if we wanted to be debt-free, I think it's $105,000. If we all paid $105,000 from 1 day old to 100, the oldest person in the country, we'd be out of debt. $36 trillion in debt our country's in right now. And we don't make any products, our country. We provide services. The only way they can create revenue to pay for the services is to collect taxes. So, a few people here in the room, where do you think taxes are going to go in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
How about the short term?
I think the short term, we're going to stay level with what just happened in the election. And again, not to get political here, but he's not going to let his tax code expire that he created a term ago. So for the next 4 years, I think we're pretty good. But we're not worried about the next 4 years. I'm worried about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Life expectancies are getting longer, older, or are we dying younger? Older. So that means tax rates are going to have to go higher in individual tax brackets for the government to raise enough revenue to pay for not only our services that we collect, that we get, but the debt on our services, right? On usdebtclock.org, it'll also tell you how much we pay in interest just on the debt that we have right now. I think it's over $1 trillion, it's trillions of dollars we're paying in interest on our debt. So I haven't spoke to an accountant or a tax attorney in the last 5 years that said they think tax rates are going to be lower 10 years from now. There hasn't been a person to come into my office who thought tax rates were going to be lower. So common sense, if I have a tax deferred account, meaning I'm going to pay taxes later, do I want to pay taxes at a higher tax rate or the lower tax rate? When do I want to pay taxes on this tax deferred account? When tax rates are high or when tax rates are low?
No.
Low. Now, we all just agreed, some questioned a little bit, but accountants and lawyers agree, the tax attorneys, that we're in the lowest tax environment we're going to be in the rest of our lives. Especially for him, her, him in the back. Why wouldn't I take money out of the tax deferred account now when I'm in the lowest income tax bracket in my life that I'm going to be in, then keep deferring it to later when taxes are going to be higher? Yes, ma'am.
So if you have a 403B or something like that, the tax deferrance, and the tax deferrance will happen or hit a person who has retired at 66.2.
Whatever year.
They're going whatever number. And they're going to be 72 or 3 in the near future. And then they're responsible to take 4% of that deferred money out of, let's say, $1 million account. So 4% is going to hit you along with your pension and along with the social.
Let me go through my scenario, and I think it's going to answer your question for you. I'll get there. But the age is actually 73. It used to be 70 and a half. Do you remember, like most of our working lives, it was always 59 and a half was the earliest you could touch those accounts without paying a penalty, and 70 and a half was when you had to start taking the required minimum distribution. Does everybody know what that word means, required minimum distribution? At 73 years old, the IRS, and the formula is about 4% of the value, and it increases every year. Doesn't stay 4% forever, right? It increases every year. At 73, you have to start taking money out of that IRA so the government can collect taxes. At 70, in 2035, that number age is going to go to 75, the RMD. So the younger you are, the earlier, more time you have between now and when the RMD kicks in, we're going to talk about what are some of your options. For the younger people in the room, you should be setting up retirement plans that are only in Roth. And I'll talk a little bit about that, a little bit more. I'll talk about that more. So I talked about taxes on my show.
You were telling me some great things.
So we'll skip that. I'm going to run some numbers by you, okay? So, let's say, most people here in a 401k, 403b, IRA, any other government-sponsored plan, company-sponsored retirement plan, does everybody have one of them? Is it the traditional one? It's not the Roth one? Most of it's in the traditional one? Okay. So everybody in this room has that, right? So let's talk about having a balance in that portfolio. What's going to happen to that, okay? So let's use an example of $500,000. If you have $500,000 sitting in your 401k, IRA, 457, 403b, any tax deferred account, and you're 65 years old, you have 8 years to go to RMD. If you don't do anything and just let that money grow and you're being fairly aggressive with it, because if you remember on the show, I was saying, you have time and you're still working, you should be aggressive, still build that portfolio, right? You're still contributing, build the portfolio, be aggressive. And we earn 7% on that portfolio. And that's not even crazy aggressive, right? If you earn 7% on that IRA, 401k, 457, that was $500,000 at 65, by 73, you're going to have $884,000 in that IRA that you now have to start taking distributions on at that 4% level that year, and it increases every year. Your RMD that year will be $34,781. Next year it's going to be $37,161. The next year it's going to be $39,702. The next year is going to be $42,415. And it goes on and on and on and never stops. If you live to 90 years old, you would have pulled out of that portfolio $1.1 million in distributions from 73 to 90. I'm not going to say the taxes are going to go higher. I'm going to say at today's tax rate, 24% federal tax rate, you're going to pay $264,000 in taxes on those distributions. It gets worse. At 90, There's still $1,030,000 left in that 401k, 403b, IRA. That's going to go to a beneficiary. Child, grandchild, relative, whoever. They receive that benefit, that $1 million. They have to pay taxes. It used to be they could spread the distribution out over their lifetime. 2 years ago it changed to, or 3 years ago, it changed to, you have to do it over a 10-year period. So now imagine you have one child who just collects $1 million from an inherited IRA, and that child is 45 years old, prime working years, prime income earner, and he has to take out $100,000 a year just from the inherited IRA he just got, or she got from one of you guys. They have to pay taxes on $1,029,000 of that inherited IRA. So let's say the tax bracket they're going to be in is going to be 30%. Their tax bill is going to be $308,964. So when you're $500,000 IRA at age 65, and you do nothing, you and your family are going to pay taxes of over $573,000 on those distributions. You would have pulled out $2.1 million both, you $1.1 million, and your kids $1.030 million. You pay taxes on over $2.1 million. If you go the route and not do anything. So what are our options? Continue to defer and pay unknown taxes later. Or pay taxes now at the known tax rates that we know they're lowest in, that's going to be in the rest of our lives, and then the rest of our income is going to be tax-free. For younger people here, real quick, when you start out your 401k, 457, 403b, you want to ask if there's a Roth option, a Roth IRA option. You don't get the current tax deduction for the contribution, but all of your money will grow income tax-free, and all of your income out later will be income tax-free as well. I did a calculation for Luke. $7,000 in a Roth IRA at 24 years old, when he is earning the same 7%. Actually, no, we were aggressive. Say earn 10%. He'll have $11 million at 65, income tax-free. Putting $7,000 a year into a Roth IRA. So for younger people, if you have a Roth version, all of your contributions should go to a Roth. If you have a 401k and they only match, if they match and it's only in the regular version of the 401k, you continue and invest up to the match, because that's free money, and put the rest of your contribution into the Roth version. Okay? Now, what are our options? Right now, and the reason why we say that is because the people in this room, the older people who have the regular ones, we have to figure out strategies on how do I pay the least amount of taxes. I'm not going to be able to get it out tax-free. That's impossible because it's already there. So for younger kids, go Roth. So let's say, here's what we do. We're going to do a Roth conversion. I have 8 years to go, right? It doesn't matter how much income you make. It doesn't matter how much you have in your IRA or 401k or 403b. You could have billions of dollars. There's no income limit on a Roth conversion. There's income limits on a Roth contribution. If you make over a certain amount of money, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA. But you can convert no matter what. No matter how much income you make, no matter how much assets you have, you can convert.
Can you convert the entire amount of the
yes, you can.
Of the distribution? The mandatory distribution.
No, you're not converting an RMD. An RMD, a Roth conversion does not satisfy a required minimum distribution. So in your case, I know what your case is, you still take the RMD out, but you can convert some other money. You can't, it doesn't count for both.
I'm a little confused. If I have the mandatory distribution and I pay taxes.
Right.
Okay.
You don't, then you shouldn't put it into a Roth anymore. Now you just take it out. You're still working though, right?
Yep.
So you can't contribute to a Roth IRA. It depends how much money you make.
Only up to a certain limit.
Yeah, if you make too much money, you can't contribute. So a Roth conversion does not, if you're RMD age already, a Roth conversion does not allow you to stop doing the RMDs. You still have to do the RMD.
No, but I'm taking the RMD, pay the taxes on the RMD.
It depends, sir, it depends on how much money you make. You told me before you make too much to do an IRA, a Roth IRA, you can't do it.
Okay.
Other people might be able to, but again, you have to see how old you are, life expectancy, because there's time limits on letting it stay there for 5 years. So there's a lot of different factors you need to address. But let's talk about the 8 years. What are my options? If I do nothing, I'm going to pay $573,000 in taxes, you and your family. So let's say we have 8 years, still earn 7%. I can Roth convert $78,000 a year. Okay? Now, why would I do that? What's that? So I have that $500,000 sitting in the IRA. I have 8 years to go to 73. I'm earning 7% of my money sitting in that IRA. I can withdraw $78,000 a year, move it to a Roth. Now I have to pay taxes on that conversion, so we're going to talk about that in a second. I move it to a Roth, and now it's going to grow tax-free, and then all future income is going to be tax-free. So, what are the benefits of it? Now, the first question you're going to ask is, well, what tax bracket am I going to be in? The objective of Roth conversion is not to do it all at once, because that's going to put you into a 40% tax bracket. I'm trying to keep you in a 24% tax bracket. A married couple filing a joint tax return can declare up to $394,600 in 2025 and still be in a 24% federal tax bracket. If you're single, you can declare up to $197,300 and be in a 24% tax bracket. So if you're making 120 grand a year, you can convert 77,000 bucks a year and still be in a 24% federal tax bracket, right? So let's say we are in that 24% bracket and we do that. You're going to pay over that 8-year period, you would have pulled out $626,000 that you would have paid income taxes on. Your income tax cost now is $150,000. And that's it. Your $78,000 a year from 65 to 73 is going to grow. We're going to move it into a Roth, convert it to Roth, but we're going to keep investing it. I will now have over $980,000 sitting in that Roth IRA at 73 years old that I can start doing distributions out of that are income tax free. So if you do nothing and let your IRA sit and grow to be $1 million, you and your family are going to pay $550,000 in taxes. If you Roth convert, you're going to pay $150,000 in taxes, have the same, almost a little bit less, almost $1 million at 73, take all tax-free income, and then when there's still $1 million left at 90, that goes to your kids' income tax-free to them. They still have to take it out over a 10-year period, but pay not a dime in taxes. Yes, sir.
Is that, when you do this, when you take the money out, isn't that going to affect your IRMA? Keep you into a higher monthly payment?
Well, it depends if you're taking Medicare. Exactly. So that's another part of the analysis that's going to raise that. But let's talk about that for a second. If you have to take out $80,000 a year out of your IRA at 74 years old, isn't that affecting your IRMA too?
Yes.
Okay? What he means is when you have to pay Medicare, everyone, if you're over 65, we all go into Medicare, right? The lowest premium I think is $174 a person. The highest is $503. It's based on your income. So let's say we Roth convert and we pay a little bit of more IRMA for a few years that we're Roth converting. Again, we need to talk about your income and how much you're showing, right? But when I get to 73 and I have $1 million in a Roth IRA, I can now take a tax-free pension that income can come out and it doesn't count towards IRMA or income or anything. Or when my kids get the money, that income comes out tax-free to them. So it's worth the few years you're going to have to pay a higher premium for IRMA. It's worth it. I'd rather have tax-free income my whole life. I'd rather have that. So it's worth it, but it is part of the calculation.
Thank you.
So if you're not 65 years old and you have more time, it's even better because it'll never affect your IRMA if you can do the Roth conversion before you turn 65. So the moral of the story is the more time I have before now and 73, the better off I'm gonna be on doing a Roth conversion.
So would it be better for a younger person who's in a company that does have 401k and all of that? Would it be smarter for them to not go in?
Well, that's what I said.
Okay.
That's what I said before to the younger people. If you have a Roth version of your 401k, contribute to the Roth. Give up the current year tax deduction. You don't want it. And now it doesn't matter what Congress does when 50, 60 years from now, you have $11 million in a tax-free bucket. Congress can say taxes are at 90%, and he won't have to pay a dime.
And part of that, again, as John said earlier, is just if the company, some companies won't match what you're contributing to a Roth. So whatever they're matching traditional, you put that aside, get that free money, and then the rest goes into the 401k.
So real
Into
quick,
the Roth.
before we hit market volatility with Luke, we feel it's such an important topic. Everybody that comes into our office for 38 years has been talking about how do I reduce my taxes. We built a website called dpstaxbill.com. You go to that website, you can plug in your information. The charts I just read off of came off of that site. You can plug in your information, plug in your age, your balance in your 401k or 403b, plug in the interest you're going to earn on the account, what your tax rate's going to be, and it'll calculate how much income taxes you're going to pay. That's how important we felt this was, and we built a website for it. And I advertise it on my radio show, my TV show. We get at least 30 to 40 people a week going on that site and generating their tax bills. And then they call our office and say, okay, well, how do I fix this? What can we do to fix it? Just advertising our website. Luke's going to hit market volatility. Yes, sir.
Oh, there's a significant amount of companies out there that are offering Roth contribution into a Roth account in this.
Every custodian offers it.
They do.
Every custodian. Every custodian. When Roth first came out, late 90s, you used to be able to convert into a Roth and have 3 years to pay the tax. We couldn't get anybody to do it. Nobody did it. Now, they're kicking themselves, because you have to pay it in 1 year, you have to pay the tax on the conversion in the year you do it. Well, the following April 15th.
Sir, did you mean employers, though?
Employers.
Yeah, so you're seeing more and more are offering a Roth alternative.
I thought you meant a custodian. No,
Like the big boys, right? Who
you work for.
Big companies.
it's the smaller little companies that might not have Roth versions of their 401k. All the big companies, all the ones you're talking, yes. Any company with 50 employees or more has definitely a Roth version. Absolutely.
Including some of the what do you call it, smaller places where you might not be getting a lot of money, like a McDonald's or places like that where you're getting hourly wages, but they do have a 401k.
Oh, absolutely. McDonald's has a 401k.
They have a 401k plan, but they might not necessarily. Oh, you're saying that they would indeed also have
A Roth version, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I guess McDonald's a big corporation.
Yeah, I'm talking maybe the local body shop guy who he's got 10 employees.
Right.
They put in a 401k through ADP.
Right.
Yeah.
They might not have a Roth version.
Get to.
Yeah, so at that point, if you're not making enough money, you can contribute to your own Roth IRA.
From the bank.
Yeah, or we build an investment account in a Roth IRA and be aggressive in that portfolio. Inflation is another tax that we talk about. We're going to skip this for now because I really want to get into market volatility because it's really important as you get older to learn that I can't keep investing as if I'm working when I'm taking income from my assets. You really have to tone down the aggressiveness. So Luke's going to go over some stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about that real quick.
Thank you, Dad. Yeah, I'm Luke. Started with DPS about 2 years ago, right out of college. I went to the University of South Carolina. Go Gamecocks. And just got into the industry right away. Got my license, like we said before, licensed fiduciary, like these two gentlemen up here. And I'm going to be going over market volatility and how it can affect you in retirement. So investing in retirement is totally different than investing while you're working. When you're working and you're receiving an income from work, you can afford to be aggressive with your investments, and you should be. When you're getting closer to retirement and you're about 5 years out, that's when you want to start shifting to a more conservative portfolio. Once you're in retirement, that's when you really need to worry about market volatility, because you can't afford to take a loss in the market and having to take money out of your IRA and the RMD. Because once you're 73 and RMDs are due and you haven't done any Roth conversions, that RMD doesn't care if the stock market is down, and that money needs to come out by December 31st. So let's look at an example of how a loss could affect you. If you lose 10% in your portfolio, it's going to take you 3.6 years at a 3% return to get back to even. At a 6% return, it's going to take almost 2 years. In 2020, both stocks and bonds were down. Has everyone here heard of the 60-40 balanced portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds? Well, in 2020, that portfolio was down 25%, because the concept that stocks and bonds have an inverse relationship is a lie. Bonds are affected by interest rates, and in 2020, the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates, causing those bond values to go down. So that 60-40 balanced portfolio that is advertised as a safe portfolio got hammered. So if you lose 20% and you're now a conservative investor because you're in retirement, it's going to take you 7.5 years at a 3% return to get back to even. With the RMD on top of that, it's going to be nearly impossible to do. So let's take a look at another chart here on the next slide. If you start with $100,000 and you lose 10%, that leaves you with $90,000, and you'd need an 11.1% return to get back to $100,000. You may think, because you lost 10%, that a 10% bump is all you need to get back to even. Unfortunately, that is not how it works. If you lose 25%, that leaves you with $75,000, and you'd need a 33.3% return to get back to $100,000, which means you'd have to take a crazy amount of risk to get that kind of return. Are you comfortable with that kind of risk when you're getting closer to retirement? When you're in retirement? I wouldn't think so. This chart is showing, I know that the font is very small, but I'll point it out. It's $1 million IRA from 2000 to 2009 with 4% distributions taken out and losses in the market. At the end of this period, this person is left with $480,000. And that's from 2000 to 2009. So what happens if you live 25 years in retirement? Because like John said before, we're living longer nowadays. We're not living shorter. We're not dying younger. So you need to be prepared for that. Your investment philosophy in retirement needs to be completely different than what your philosophy was while you were working.
Okay, so let me give you a real life example. All right, I had a client come in end of 2019, had $1 million in their IRA on December 31st. You guys know how the IRS calculates the RMD, right? It's based on the December 31st value the year before, right? So December 31st, client had $1 million in the IRA in 2019. Calculate the RMD at a 4%. That first year is about a 4% withdrawal. So that's $40,000. Has to come out in 2020. There's no choice. You have to take the money out. 2020, the market was down 25%. That 60-40 balanced portfolio was down 25%. So that person's, and this is year one in retirement, $1 million IRA lost $250,000 in the market because of a balanced portfolio their advisor told them was safe, and still had to take out $40,000 of a distribution. 1 year in retirement, they went from $1 million to $710. And now, because they had to sell shares of whatever to raise the $40,000 to do the distribution, when the market does rebound back, there's less money in the account, less shares in the account, so it's going to grow back less. How can you afford to do that in retirement? So you need to look at safe money options. What are retirement investing rules, right? Everybody knows the most wealthy institutions in education have large endowment funds, right? I think the Harvard Endowment Fund has something like $78 billion in endowments, right? What are the rules of investing for an endowment? It's, I want to grow it a little bit. I want to take some income when I want to. I want to be safe. Endowments don't invest their money in the S&P 500 index funds. They're looking to get a 4 to 5% return, keep it safe, take some money out every now and then. Isn't that what a retirement plan should be like? Not be crazy roller coaster in the market. So my rules of investing in retirement are, let me grow it a little bit, let me take some income a little bit, and I want to be able to sleep at night in a stress-free environment. Okay? The young kids, him, her, you guys can be crazy aggressive now. Because if the market drops 25% and you're putting that $7,000 away into a Roth IRA or whatever you're putting it into, you're going to buy more shares of whatever you're buying when the market's down. So when the market rebounds back like it always does, you're going to have more shares that are going to rebound back. You want market volatility when you're building your portfolio. You hate market volatility when you're in retirement and taking income from that portfolio. So there's a big difference between investing as if you're still working and investing as if you're retired. And that's part of the analysis of the DPS report that we go over with you. How much risk are you actually taking in your portfolio? Does anybody know? Because I'll ask, when people come in, I'll ask, are you an aggressive investor, moderate, or conservative? Most people say I'm probably like moderate. And then when we do an analysis of their assets, their investments that they have, they're way more aggressive than they think they are. And that'll be some of the things that we have to work on, that we can say, hey, we can fix that problem. So every person that comes in, we go over what we call our 3 investment world discussion. And this is trying to build a portfolio like the endowments. Now, for her and you, they are aggressive. They're not looking at guaranteed safe money growth products. They're looking at aggressive growth products. But everybody else in this room, me, Ted, you people, should be looking at where can I place my money? So I have this conversation with everyone that comes into our office in our conference room. We'll sit and talk to you about what are the options for me to invest, from bank accounts to insurance products to mutual funds to stocks to investment accounts, hedge funds, brokerage accounts. And our job on your team is to educate you and empower you so you can make better decisions with your money. And we have this 3 investment world discussion. I have clients who have $5 million. We have this discussion, $10 million, $100,000. And we talk about how much should be in growth, aggressive growth, how much should be in safe growth, how much should be in an emergency fund. And we build that plan for each person individually based on what their situation is. So if you're not having a 3 investment world discussion with your current financial advisor, then you need to take advantage of the opportunity to come in, under a stress-free environment. We're inviting every one of you to figure out why you actually came here tonight. Our office is in Roseland. We'll give you an hour of our time. There's no cost. There's no obligation. You come into our office in Roseland, bring your statements with you, whatever investment accounts you have, bring your statements, and we'll talk about what are you trying to accomplish. Is it when to turn on Social Security? Is it taxes on qualified plans? Are you investing too aggressively in the markets? What are the things that are going on in your financial life? We'll address them with you. We'll have a conversation. We'll answer any specific questions that you have. We'll generate an analysis for you for no cost, no obligation, and we'll go over what's going on inside your portfolios, what's going on inside your investment strategies, and it's no cost, no obligation. Susie and Luke will be outside, and we have our calendar here. We would hope that before you leave tonight, if you're going to make an appointment, make one, and if you want to cancel it tomorrow, whatever, that's fine, but at least get a date on the calendar. We know the holidays are coming, so if you want to do it quickly and get an appointment next week, fine. You want to wait till early January, whatever. We have our calendar. Don't let the holidays jeopardize whether you have the right retirement plan, okay? We'll work around that, all right? So with that, we'll answer any questions you have. We'll answer more questions. We're done. We've talked about our topics. You're free to go. You can, if you want to make an appointment, which I hope you will, Just, our calendars are outside. Susie and Luke are out there now. I'm here to answer any questions as well, and we'll go from there. You have a question? Yeah, he has hand up first. Yes, sir.